For people who don't know, you rent your home but own loads of other homes, don't you?
Yeah.
You're both an evil landlord and an abused tenant.
Exactly, yeah. Does that mean on average I'm all right?
You're all right. You can see both sides of the coin.
Yeah. I don't know.
So your view of home ownership is probably different, and I think people should listen, because this is one area of finances that I think will definitely change as a result of higher interest rates.
Yeah, and I think this is something where it's easy to get the wrong end of the stick. I'm not saying you shouldn't own a home. I'm just saying it is a discussion. It is something to think about. For the majority of people, it is going to be the right thing to do to buy a home when you can. But I think so many people feel like they're failing if they don't own a home. But it doesn't. You don't have to do it that way. So the way I frame it is like you have to own assets, but you don't have to live in your assets. So I like property. There's benefits of it in terms of leverage and all this kind of stuff. So cool, I own it, but I just don't live there, because even if it was financially the best thing for me to do, which I don't think it is because of where I live, I still wouldn't want to, because I like the flexibility. But I think your home is so personal. It should come down to feelings rather than finances. And for most people, they want that security. That's fine. Renting is terrible, and so I get it. But also flexibility is important. And I know so many people in their 20s who bought because they're told that's the type of thing to do. Suddenly, they can't move for a job opportunity somewhere else, or they sort of get a partner, they want to move in together, they can't sell their own place, suddenly they're an accidental landlord. It's like, it happens a lot.
It happened with my friend. He bought in southeast London like 10 years ago. It took him, I think, no, more than 10 years ago. It took him about 3 years to sell the property, and now he lives with his wife in Putney.
Yeah.
But it took him so long to shift it, and he was like, oh my God, I thought it would be a lot easier than this.
Yeah.
I like your idea. Whereas my parents would be like, they just bought a house. Everyone's like, buy a house. My friends were like, oh, get on the property ladder, bricks and mortar, it's very safe. But I don't think it's for everyone if you want to.
Look who's giving you the advice as well. Yeah. You know, the amount of people that take advice on how to get wealthy from people that are not wealthy is pretty staggering. Yeah. And, you know, you question, like, your nan goes, oh, just buy a property because she just fluked buying one place in the 50s and made millions, but has nothing else in her life. And then you get millionaires that sit here like Timothy Army, or maybe even, you know, yourself, who go, it's too expensive to buy my own home. The stamp duty costs, the lack of flexibility. And it's like the people with all the money are saying, I don't own my home. You know, there's probably something in that.
Yeah, and I think the only reason to go, well, I must buy as soon as possible, is if you believe that property will uniquely go up faster than anything else. And that tends not to be the case. Like, there was a brief period in the early 2000s when property did absolutely flew up in value. And a large part of the reason that it hasn't recently so much is we're still kind of working our way through that sudden run up. So if you own from before that run up, you're going to think property is the best thing in the world. But in general, it's not. Even if it was, you could buy investment property rather than living in your property. So yeah, it's not the be all and end all, even though, I mean, even if most people, when they come to retire, say you definitely want to own your own home, you want to own it outright. I'm not saying that's necessarily for everyone still, but even if you did, it doesn't mean you have to have owned it from the time you're 20. You can sell off some of your other assets and buy it at that point.
Build up a big asset base and then buy a home at some point in cash or whatever.
Yeah, but you have to own assets, and I think one of the appeals of property is it's like a forced saving plan. Like, you have to pay your mortgage, and when you're paying your mortgage, you're paying off a bit of a capital. Like, there is no choice but to do that if you want to stay in your home. So that's quite nice. But you could take the same amount of money and go and invest it in something else. So you just have to have the confidence in yourself that you are going to do that.
Yeah, because I have. You know, I'm probably overweight the equities or the stock market. And I have this conversation with one of my mates who owns a load of terraced houses in the centre of Liverpool, and they do well for him. And he's always like, property, man, I can see it, I can touch it. And I was like, there's my portfolio. I just get my phone out and put it there. And I was like, I could sell that right now and have all the cash. How long is it going to take you to sell your 10 terraced houses?
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's pluses and minuses, isn't
Absolutely.
there? But I think people should challenge the logic of bricks and mortar is everything.
Definitely.
This was a clip from our interview with Rob Dix about myths about money. For the full episode, click right here.